Welcome back to the I Don't Want a Divorce podcast. Today's topic, what I did that didn't help after I left my narcissist. You can learn what not to do from actual abused spouses who left their abusers. Last week's podcast, this podcast, and next week's podcast contain the words of spouses, the actual words of spouses who have escaped their narcissists. Mostly women and some men. They know what they're talking about because they lived it. Many are subscribers to my podcast and my YouTube channel. Join us in fighting for abused spouses and become a subscriber. If you have a marital crisis, whatever it is, that's what I do. Been doing it for 35 years. I don't care what your crisis is. I've got a solution for you. I've got a plan of action for you that will empower you and give you the best chance to save the marriage. Go to the website, davideclark.com, that's Clark with an E, to see all my resources. And if you like this website, you'll also like Dugas Creative, because Phil Dugas created this website and maintains it. You'll see on the website my books, my Focus on the Family video interviews, my podcast, my YouTube channel, and my phone advice service. Now, today's topic, what I did that didn't help after I left my abuser. I felt ashamed and like it was my fault. Very common reaction. Even though you know you have to leave, you feel ashamed. Your abuser certainly wanted you to feel ashamed. This is my response to this. It was him who should have been ashamed. But narcissists are incapable of shame and guilt. And there's a place for shame in this world. 2, I let him manipulate me and cheat me in the divorce settlement. Oh, I've heard this a million times. Very common. Don't hang on to this. At least you're done and you're out of the marriage. And with most narcissists, you have to do some horse trading. They might get more than you. You just want to get rid of them and move on because they'll drag the process out until there's no money left. So you may have to make some deals. Don't give the farm away, but you may have to make some deals. This lady says, I didn't stick to my boundaries. Yeah, very common. I took calls from him after the cutoff time. Not a good idea. I let him into my home. Not a good idea. I was so used to letting him tell me what to do and think and believe. I still gave him way too much power in my life. I was way too nice to him. Yeah, I know. This is why I wrote 20 lies that keep you with your abuser, to stop the codependent behavior. It'll help you. This lady says, I thought he had begun to change, and so I let him back into my life, back into the home. No, she knows now, bad idea. You got to be absolutely sure. 8, 9, 10 months of his being repentant and changing. A couple of weeks or months means nothing. She admits it was a terrible mistake. She knows that now. I ended it again, and he made me suffer. Yeah, I know. Again, you got to move on from that. Nobody's perfect. After I filed divorce, I kept thinking he would change. I still believed his lies, that he loved me, that he wanted the marriage. The abuser knows what you want to hear. He'll feed it to you, and it's just a pack of lies. They'll even start to grow spirit, talk to the pastor, go into church. It doesn't mean anything until it really leads to change and repentance. This lady says, I should have left him earlier. Yeah, I've heard that a lot. I allowed him to do more damage to me and my children. You know what? I say at least you're out now. Most ladies stay all the way until they're utterly destroyed and their kids hate them and they're devastated. Okay, you're ahead of the game if you leave. I should have spoken up in front of my daughter when he verbally abused her. She regrets that. Okay. Now she thinks I agreed with his abuse of her. Oh my goodness. That's what happens. It'll play the long game with your daughter. You'll be able to get her back. It'll take a while to turn that around. And I would recommend getting I Didn't Want a Divorce, Now What? This will help you deal with your children, younger as well as older, and help them come around. This lady says, I followed my counselor's advice to not tell my children what their father was really like. Okay, that's bad advice. She knows that now. I protected my ex and now have a strained relationship with my kids. Yeah, that's one of the worst results. But again, it can change. Got to play the long game. This counselor was wrong. You do tell the truth. You don't trash them, but you tell the truth about the abuser to the kids. I was way too generous in the divorce settlement. Yeah, happens a lot. I gave him half of my retirement income when I didn't have to. Okay, that's codependent behavior. Don't torture yourself. Okay, it was a mistake. Move on. God's going to replace what the locusts have eaten. I'm just telling you. It's okay. I had false guilt about divorcing him, so I spent time trying to help him find a place to live. Again, codependent behavior. I was so used to taking care of him. Yeah, exactly. He should have been on his own. Who cares if he's in a pup tent under a bridge? But again, that's codependent behavior. I shared too many details and emotional pain with one of my adult children. Yeah, that's a mistake. They don't want to hear. I cover this and I didn't want a divorce. They don't want to hear it. Even if it's true. You give them the basics, yes, but you don't go on and on because they don't want to hear it and there'll be a backlash on you. Here's one you want to also Note, I foolishly agreed to use a joint lawyer to save money in the divorce. I suffered huge financial losses. You know what happens when you use a joint lawyer? That's his lawyer, and you'll be taken to the cleaners. And these lawyers could care less. They don't have a conscience either, a lot of them, so you're shafted. I continued to hide the truth about him to protect his image and his career. This is even after having left. So friends and my kids blamed me for the divorce. And he made hay with that too. You know he did. You need to tell your children and closest friends and family the truth about your abuser. Again, I didn't want a divorce. Now what? That's going to help you with the healing and recovery process after you leave. That's why I wrote it. I begged him for mercy. I begged him to repent and change. Yeah, waste of time. Begging never works with a narcissist. It degrades and weakens you, and he actually enjoys you being degraded and weakened. Here's one. I was just days away from a divorce. That close. But I canceled it, and I reconciled with him. He cried and begged and said God spoke to him. See, he knew that's what you wanted to hear. He didn't change, and it cost me dearly in every way. Do not believe a word your abuser says. Not one word. Go only on actions and behavior. You have to be 100% certain he has repented and he has changed. And with a narcissist, that happens very rarely. It's going to take 8-9 months minimum. Here's a lady that admits, I had a few rebound relationships after the divorce and then married again too quickly. It happens. It's pretty common to have a few rebound relationships and marry too quickly. Well, this lady did. You need to heal from, this is me talking, you need to heal from the wounds and get emotionally healthy before even thinking about dating. That's where I didn't want a divorce. Now what comes in handy? If you marry another abuser, leave him. God doesn't want you to suffer. Ladies will think, well, but I married another one. That's my fault. Now I really have to stay. I don't want to be divorced again. No, you give him a chance to change, as enough is enough tells you to do. And if he doesn't change, you leave him too. I didn't watch my kids closely enough post-divorce to see what effects my ex was having on them. Okay, this was a regret. And it's true, you need to observe your kids carefully, debrief after every contact with their father, because he's going to be working his narcissistic abusive magic on them. And train your kids to manage their narcissistic abusive father. Get Laurel Slade Waggoner's, my dear friend Laurel Slade Waggoner's book. Don't Let Their Crazy Make Your Kids Crazy. Go to her website, Google her, Laurel Slade Waggoner, Waggoner. It's an awesome book, training your kids to deal with their narcissistic father or mother. That's never going to stop happening, and they need to learn how to manage it and deal with it without being sucked into his craziness. Another one, I worried about what others would think about me divorcing him, especially my mother-in-law. Who cares what a mother-in-law thinks? She did. Forget about your mother-in-law. She's probably as crazy as he is. Blood goes with blood. This is me talking now. Focus on what God thinks. There's some wonderful mother-in-laws. Okay, and I've got one who are supportive and understand and will be right there with you, but okay, most won't because it's their kid. Okay? Even though he was emotionally abusive, I thought it was my responsibility to give him the benefit of the doubt because he was my husband and the father of our children. Yeah, forget the benefit of the doubt. You go on behavior. God doesn't talk about the benefit of the doubt. God talks about action, behavior as a husband and a Christian, and how to deal with a sinner. Here's a lady that says, I wish I had not tried to change who I was to please him, even after the divorce. It often continues after the divorce. Spoken like a true codependent. I don't mean that in a disrespectful way. It's just truth. A codependent will twist herself into someone she isn't like to gain approval. And it never, listen to me, never works. You lose yourself and only enable the abuser. Still his fault for abusing you, but it's your fault for putting up with it for too long. I tried to make things easier on him after we separated. Again, this is a theme you can see through some of these responses. I hand-delivered his mail to his residence. Don't do that. She did that. I gave him tax information he wanted. Why bother? He's a grown man. I allowed him to visit my home to get things he wanted. No. You don't have to do that. It's a violation of your space. See, underneath is the lie that, well, I still have to be nice to him. He's a fellow Christian. No, you don't. Not when he's a sinner and he's destroyed your life. All right. And the lie, maybe if I'm nice to him, he'll still change and we could get remarried. Stop thinking that way. Now, next week, the final episode in this 3-week series on After You Leave Your Abuser. What I did that did help after I left my narcissist. Helpful things that ladies especially have learned after leaving their narcissist. After next week, I'll return to my podcast based on my book, 20 Lies That Keep You with Your Abuser. We'll go back to that series.